We're about to do something very exciting. Oh, for the win! This is awesome! We're Liz and Dennis, and in 2017, we traded our sticks and bricks for life on the road. After 2.5 years of traveling all across the United States and parts of Canada, we decided to embark on a new adventure, traveling Mexico. And over the past 8 months, we've had incredible experiences.
No way, dude. This is amazing.
Visiting dozens of Pueblo Mágicos, participating in beautiful Mexican traditions, swimming in some of the world's best reefs, relaxing on the beach, making new friends, and of course, eating the best Mexican food ever. This week, our adventures continue as we take you into the jungles of Calakmul, one of the most remote archaeological zones in all of Mexico. We're about to do something very exciting. If you're coming to the area to visit Calakmul Ruins, you should also make sure to stop by a special cave that's about a 20-minute drive just outside of the entrance of Calakmul. It's just past mile marker 106, or kilometer 106. And there's a cave pull off to the right. You can hire a tour guide to come back at this time. They have people speaking in English and Spanish. It was 100 pesos per person for the tour, and we get to go to a cave to see thousands, potentially millions of bats flying out of the cave tonight.
So the cave goes straight down into the earth and they just spin out in this huge spiral. So It's gonna be insane.
We're very, very excited. Super cool. You get really close to the cave entrance. When you're here and the bats come out, you have to be very quiet to respect the bats, since they use their sonar to kind of get around. Being quiet helps them navigate where things are.
8 species of bats live harmoniously inside this cave, making it one of the top 3 most bat biodiverse caves in the world. The cave is actually a cenote, 600 meters deep, and fresh water can be found around 400 meters in. Every night, as many as 3 million bats exit the cave in a beautiful dance, spiraling through the air, heading out in all directions in search of their next meal. It's easy to see why the locals have named it Volcan de Murcielagos, the bat volcano.
This is cool.
This is amazing. I've never seen anything like it. Well, we made it home, but we got caught in the rain. We are soaked.
But tonight was absolutely insane. We were super bummed whenever we visited Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico 2 years ago. And we were there at the perfect time of year, which is springtime, but it was super windy when we were there. So the bats didn't come out of the cave. But here, apparently, they don't care, and they come out at the same time every day of the year.
Calakmul Archeological Zone is located in the Calakmul Biosphere Reserve. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site deep inside the largest forest in all of Mexico, with over 723,000 hectares of land. Bordering Guatemala, this massive tropical forest takes up 14% of the land in the state of Campeche, and is home to many species of animals, including jaguars, ocelots, pumas, turkeys, howler and spider monkeys, toucans, and tapir, just to name a few.
Half of the adventure of visiting Calakmul is the drive to the ruins, which is 60 kilometers from the first gate, and takes roughly an hour and a half one way. During our drive, we passed unexcavated ruins, saw tons of turkeys, fox, and great carousel birds.
Because of the sheer size of the reserve, the land and archaeological zone is managed, operated, and protected by 3 different local and federal groups. So you'll need to pay 3 separate entrance fees totaling 244 pesos per person to visit the ruins.
Calakmul was built in 550 BC and grew into one of the great cities of the Mayan Civilization, having control over the entire region until it was abandoned in 900 AD. The city's home to thousands of structures yet to be uncovered, with pathways connecting Calakmul to other neighboring sites, including Palenque and Tikal, Guatemala, who's believed to have century-long battles with Calakmul over power. Archaeologists believe Calakmul finally rose to supreme power for the area after losing a battle to Tikal. In celebration of the win, Tikal painted their city red, using powder made from cinnabar and mercury-based ore. The pigments of the paint washed off into their water reservoir with rain, unknowingly poisoning the inhabitants and forcing those who survived to abandon the site in search of new water. Now we're in a residential area that had several homes to different people. This probably was made for the middle class because half of the home was built with stone, and they would have used wood and palm leaves for the remainder of the walls. Each room you can see has a spot that has a bed to lay down on, and then in the center there's like a great dining area that would be used for cooking, gathering, working, that would be used for all of the families here. And just like many other civilizations, it would be of course closer to the great pyramids or the great buildings. The taller they were, that would be for like the royalty or the kings or the most important people in the civilization, and then just outside of that would be the middle class, and then further from the city center would be where the lower class would live.
But even in the middle class neighborhood, there was class levels. So if you see behind me, there's no steps in front of this house. But if you turn this way, this has steps, and the house itself is much higher than this house over here. So this person that lived in this house was more important.
This would have been a nice little spot to put your jewelry. So this is how you know that this was an important person. The beds are much bigger, but also they have special little spots cut out for sometimes jewelry, but if they were a warrior, they could have a spot for their protection, their weapons. There's a toucan. Oh my god. Right after we see the toucan, I see a tree move. It's a spider monkey, just with a baby on her back. Oh, for the win! This is awesome! Now that we've seen one monkey, they're everywhere. And we're getting to see howler monkeys. Oh, I hope they make their noise. There's like 7 or 8 of them, and the whole group is coming now. This is so amazing. The building behind me actually isn't originally constructed by Mayans. It was created by archaeologists after it was discovered, because this is home to where the original murals were found, and they wanted to keep those protected. So they built this building behind us to look like the rest of the buildings in the area. This used to be like the common area. You could kind of call it like a market. It's where people used to do their daily lives, come to trade, come to buy things. Across from where the murals are located is another building that is built by the Mayans that has more of the murals, and actually they found tombs there. They haven't excavated the tombs to figure out who it was, when they were buried, things like that. So probably just gonna leave it covered for now and protected, kind of leave it as a mystery. So the Great City is not actually where the largest pyramids for this area are. It's just where the kings and kind of like all the people making the important decisions for the area would have resided. That is just behind this big entrance, the gate that we just walked through. It is not excavated, so you can kind of see remnants of areas of steps and pyramids that are back there, but right now they're just covered in jungle.
So at the entrance to the Great City, on the other side of this wall, you saw the first estela, which was massive. And they carved the stelas out of limestone with the history for each sitting king or any sort of major event that happened while the city was in power. This one, however, is super small. And that's because at the end of the decline of the city, the last king didn't have enough helpers or workers to create a stela the size that you saw on the other side. And before the limestone was eroded away, pictographers have deciphered was that basically it said there's no food, there's no water, and no people, so we're leaving.
And that was the end of history for Calakmul. That was until they discovered it in the 1930s, and it didn't actually become open to public until the 1980s. The road that came out here wasn't even built until 1952. So this is one of the newest significant archaeological finds for the Mayan people in this area.
The two mountains.
Yes. Oh my god, this is so incredible. So this is Edificio 7, building 7.
Right.
Incredible views of the two pyramids.
And the namesake of the site, which is Calakmul, which means
two objecting mountains.
Two objecting mountains. At the top of structure 7, they found Junom Tok Kawil's tomb. And he's super important because he was the last king of the Junom dynasty, which is the dynasty of the snakehead people who did a lot of work bringing the power to Calakmul. When they found his tomb, they found a bunch of artifacts, but the most important one that you may or may not recognize is a jade mask that depicts Junom Tok Kawil, and it's now become like a symbol of Mexico worldwide and a symbol of the Mayan Civilization worldwide. The stairs are so narrow because when you leave, they don't want you to turn your back on the king because that's a sign of disrespect. So you have to go down sideways instead of front facing like a normal set of steps so you don't disrespect the king.
Building 2 is one of the most important structures in all of Calakmul because it represents the 3 levels that the Mayan people believed existed, which was the upper level, which was saved for the gods, then the human level, which is the plane that we live in today, and then there was the underworld, which is where people would go when they've passed. And there would be 9 different levels for the underworld, and inside of the pyramid, it's hidden, you can't see it, but they actually had a portal to what they believed would be the representation of the underworld. The pyramid we see behind us represents the human plane, and just over this pyramid is another one which represents the plane of the gods.
This building was also home to 2 extremely large stone carvings that would have adorned the front of the pyramid. They would have been finished in stucco and painted with brilliant natural pigment colors.
Climbing to the top of this is a workout, I will tell you what. We're doing a lot of walking. This is definitely a full day event. If you plan to come here, plan to spend the whole day. Well, it's so magical to imagine this kind of like a lost, forbidden city in the jungle. It would have looked extremely different. And they actually had to take down a lot of the trees to build the stelas that we see here, the buildings that we see, all of the residential areas. They would have even had walkways that were stuccoed so that they had different walking areas. So it actually probably wouldn't have very many trees at all. We just made it to structure 3 and there are monkeys all around us. I can literally like hear them swinging and see them swinging from the trees, which is so cool. But this structure is one of the newer ones, and it is where one of the important kings was buried, although he's not in the tribe that was the most important for Calakmul.
He wasn't in the snakehead lineage, although he was still a king. He was the king of the bad heads, which is actually the people who were in power before the snakehead lineage, but they gave over power to the snakeheads. But since he was still a king of the people, he got buried with all of the king's rights.
And they found a bunch of jade masks in there, among other things, so they knew that he was a person of important significance for this culture. And this is also where Lundell, the person who ended up helping uncover this and become what it is today, he ended up sleeping here when he was doing research on gum trees, and after realizing pretty much no one has been here, he decided to carve his name in one of the rocks with the date that he visited, so that if anyone came back and found it, they would know that he was there first.
But please, don't carve your name in the date that you were here in any of the rocks, anywhere in any archaeology site that you ever go to in the world. Please.
If you're planning to come to Calakmul, there's a few things you need to know before you come, because we kind of figured out a lot of this at like 7:30 in the morning today. The first thing is you are going to need a vehicle of some sort. We technically could have taken the scooter in. The road is paved pretty much the whole way, but there's a lot of loose gravel, low-hanging branches, things that have fallen off the side of the roads that kind of make it a hazard. We ended up actually passing someone who was on a bike and crashed their bike and had to get help getting out from Calakmul. So I'm glad we didn't take the scooter. Ideally, you need to have a car. RVs are not allowed, so you'll have to park outside in the nearby town, and then you can either, if you don't have your own car, you can rent a car in town. I definitely suggest asking a local in the village. They'll probably be able to point you in a direction of someone who can give you a car to rent for the day. Cars should run you anywhere from about 1,000 pesos to 1,200 pesos for the day. You pretty much get free reign to come into Calakmul and bring it back to them at the end of the day. But if you want to make all of this even easier, you can hire a guide, like we did. We ended up working with Roberto, and he has been amazing. A guide can cost you anywhere from 1,200 pesos up, depending on the season, how much demand there is. But I definitely think it's the route to go, because you end up getting so much more information than what you could just read on any of the plaques that are around the buildings. And I feel you get a much better idea of the history of this place, some of the beliefs of the Mayan culture, and it just allows you to, I think, appreciate the beauty, the size, this incredible site so much more. So I definitely suggest contacting Roberto. I'll have his number pop up here, and it'll be in the description of the video below.
Also, if you're planning on filming while you're coming to Calakmul, make sure you talk to the tourism board in Campeche City. You can do it online and get a drone permit. Don't bring your drone back here and fly it illegally thinking no one's gonna bother you about it, because there are guards here that will totally cite you for flying your drone without a permit. We're not flying our drone this time because we didn't plan ahead far enough to get our drone permit from the tourism board in Campeche City. So you're not gonna see any drone footage in here. And here comes the raid. Okay, we are ready to go. We're leaving Calakmul today. We're actually in the town of Conhaus. I'm totally butchering that, but that's the town that the entrance road to Calakmul is actually located in. A lot of people think it's located in Spuhil, but Spuhil is a town that's a little farther east, and it's like a 40-minute drive. We ended up staying at a nice little restaurant that actually has really good food called La Selva Comedor y Cabanas. So she has rooms to rent, as well as a giant parking area out front of the restaurant that you can park your van or RV in. And it's only like a 5-minute drive to the entrance of the Biosphere, which takes you to Calakmul, and it's about a 20-minute drive to the Bat Cave. So this is the better place to stay. Now, as far as Calakmul goes, super padre o no? I'm gonna give it 5 eagles, and I think it definitely deserves 5 eagles, but not because of just the site itself. Half of the experience is driving through the biosphere and seeing all the wildlife. So we hope you liked the video on Calakmul. We're definitely gonna have more adventures in the Yucatan Peninsula coming your way, and Mexico as a whole. So if you like this video, please give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button while you're down there if you haven't done it already. And until then, we'll see you next Mexico Monday.
Welcome to Tulum.
Hang 10, baby. But I hope we can go back tomorrow and see the giant, like, snake line in the sky of them leaving the cave. Because I think that would be super cool. Like, imagine being somebody who didn't know that that was there, driving down the highway and be like, what the F is that?
This is Yum.
Yum,
Jungnam,
Tokawil.
and this is Junyang Tokamel tomb.
Jungnam Tokawil.
Okay, and this is Jungnong Tokawil tomb.
Yes.
I've had to say that like 4 times. That's really hard. It's before they had laws protecting taking artifacts and hieroglyphics or things from sacred sites like this. And people came here with a saw and they cut off the front of this stela. So no one actually knows what was here, what was said, but supposedly these were in the best condition when this place was first discovered and starting to be uncovered by archaeologists. And no one knows where it went.